Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into 2 Samuel chapter 3.
Mm,
And this chapter, well, it doesn't ease you in. It throws you right into this ongoing, pretty drawn-out conflict.
right, it's a real power struggle. You've got the House of Saul, which is clearly fading,
Yeah, weakening.
and then the House of David, definitely on the rise.
So our goal here is to really unpack the big events, figure out the turning points, who the key players are, and, understand what this whole transition phase meant.
Exactly. Think of it like a high-stakes political drama playing out. Loyalties are shifting constantly. Tensions are incredibly high.
You can feel it.
Yeah, and the power balance is just about to tip. It's a really pivotal moment.
Okay, so let's map out that initial scene the source gives us. It starts by saying, this war, it wasn't quick.
No, not at all. The text is specific. The war between the House of Saul and the House of David lasted a long time.
A long time. And during this, there's a clear trend noted.
A very clear trend. David's side was growing stronger and stronger. That's the phrasing.
While Saul's house.
Growing weaker and weaker. You get this real sense of inevitable momentum just from those words.
And David isn't just winning battles, he's like setting up shop. The source lists his sons born in Hebron. Why is that detail significant?
Oh, it's hugely significant. Listing those sons, Amnon, Kileab, Absalom, Adonijah, Shephatiah, Ithream, and naming their mothers.
Right.
It shows David building a foundation, a stable base, a lineage, a dynasty right there in Hebron, his stronghold. It's a visual of his growing strength, his legitimacy.
Compared to Saul's heirs.
Exactly. Compared to the weakening north, David's putting down roots, deep ones.
So David's literally building his family, his power base, while Saul's house weakens. Who was actually sort of propping up Saul's side during all this?
Yeah, that would be Abner, son of Ner.
Yeah.
Definitely. The source says he had been strengthening his own position in the House of Saul. He wasn't just a general.
More than that.
Yeah, he was the main political force, the military muscle keeping Ishbosheth, Saul's son, afloat. Ishbosheth was king in name, but Abner was the power.
Okay, and then comes the flashpoint. The thing that really ignites the drama in this chapter, it's an accusation involving Saul's concubine, Rizpah.
Ishbosheth confronts Abner directly, asks him, "Why did you sleep with my father's concubine?"
Which sounds personal, but there's more to it, right?
Oh, absolutely. In that culture, sleeping with a former king's concubine that wasn't just, a private matter, it could be seen as a direct claim on the throne.
Wow.
Or at least a serious challenge to Ishbosheth's authority. It was politically loaded, potentially treasonous, whether Abner meant it that way or not.
And Abner's reaction is explosive.
Completely. Described as very angry. And he throws back this incredibly sharp question, am I a dog's head on Judah's side?
What's behind that phrase, dog's head?
It's pure contempt.
Yeah.
Like saying, am I worthless, insignificant?
He's furious.
Understandably, maybe. Yeah, he's basically saying, how dare you accuse me after everything I've done for your father's house? Accuse me of being some traitor working for David.
Yeah.
It shows his pride, his loyalty until that moment, and just how insulted he is, especially over what he calls an offense involving this woman.
So this accusation, true or not, just flips a switch for Abner.
Instantly. He doesn't just get mad, he pivots, completely changes direction.
And seals it with an oath.
A really powerful one. May God deal with Abner, be it ever so severely, if I do not do for David what the Lord promised him on oath. He's calling down judgment on himself if he fails.
And what does he promise to do?
The whole kingdom. He vows to transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and establish David's throne over Israel and Judah from Dan to Beersheba.
Dan to Beersheba, that's everything.
That's the traditional way of saying the entire land of Israel. He's promising David the unified kingdom. A huge commitment.
So how does Ishbosheth react to his main supporter suddenly declaring loyalty to his rival?
Predictably, maybe. The text says Ishbosheth did not dare to say another word to Abner because he was afraid of him.
Just silenced him.
Completely. Abner's fury, his oath, he just shut Ishbosheth down. Shows you who really held the cards in Saul's house. Ishbosheth had the title, Abner had the power.
Okay, so Abner makes his vow. Ishbosheth is scared silent. What's Abner's next move?
He reaches out to David, sends messengers to Hebron.
Making the first move?
Yeah. And his proposal is pretty direct. He asks, whose land is it? Sort of implying it rightfully belongs to David. Then offers, make an agreement with me and I'll help you bring all Israel over to you.
He's offering himself as the kingmaker, essentially.
Exactly. The broker who can deliver the northern tribes.
And David's response, quick.
Immediate. And very smart. He says, good, I will make an agreement with you, but There's catch.
Ah, a condition.
A very specific non-negotiable condition. Do not come into my presence unless you bring Michal, daughter of Saul, when you come to see me.
Michal, David's first wife, Saul's daughter. Why her? Why now?
Well, remember, Saul gave her to David, then took her back and married her off to someone else, Paltiel.
Right.
Demanding her back isn't just personal, it's deeply political.
How so?
Bringing Michal back reconnects David directly, through marriage, to Saul's royal line. It boosts his legitimacy, especially for those tribes loyal to Saul. It's like symbolizing a continuation, but through him, not Ishbosheth.
Clever. And David doesn't just leave it to Abner.
No, he goes straight to Ishbosheth too, sends messengers demanding Michal, and he reminds him about the bride price.
The 100 Philistine foreskins. Quite the reminder.
Yeah, it's a stark detail. Highlights the risks David took for Saul way back, the price he paid for that royal connection. And Ishbosheth, well, likely pressured by both Abner and David,
He folds.
he complies, orders Michal taken from her husband, Paltiel.
And the source includes this really sad detail about Paltiel.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it? Her husband, however, went with her, weeping behind her, all the way to Bahurim.
Why put that in there? It feels so personal amidst all the politics.
I think it shows the human cost. You know, kings and commanders are making these big moves, shifting kingdoms.
And ordinary people get caught in the middle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People like Paltiel lose everything. It adds this layer of emotional truth. Makes it real. Abner eventually just tells him bluntly, go back home.
Right.
Harsh, but it underscores the finality.
So Abner's got his deal with David. Michal is being returned. Now he needs to actually deliver on his promise to bring Israel over.
Right, now comes the political legwork. He goes and talks to the elders of Israel.
What's his pitch?
He reminds them, hey, you guys wanted David as king before, remember? He's tapping into their past feelings.
Okay.
But he also adds a divine angle. He mentions the Lord's promise, supposedly, that David would rescue Israel from the Philistines and all their enemies. So it's presented as both what they wanted and what God wants.
Smart combination, political and theological.
Very. And the source notes he specifically talks to the Benjamites too.
Saul's tribe. Why was that crucial?
That was the core support for Ishbosheth. Winning them over was key to dismantling the opposition and unifying everyone. Shows Abner knew what he was doing politically.
So after laying this groundwork, Abner heads back to David in Hebron.
Yep, with 20 men, he's reporting back saying, okay, I've talked to them. Israel and Benjamin are on board.
And David receives him well.
Very well. Hosts a feast for Abner and his men. It really looks like this transition is happening smoothly, all thanks to Abner's efforts.
Seems like it's all going according to plan. And after the feast, Abner lays out his final step.
He tells David, basically, let me go now, gather all Israel, make a formal agreement, a compact with you, and then you can rule over everything your heart desires.
He's ready to seal the deal.
Completely. And David sends him off. The text adds, significantly, he went in peace.
Peace. Seems like the key word. Abner leaves Hebron, mission accomplished, peace secured. But then, just after Abner leaves, Joab, David's top commander, returns with his men from a raid. Oh.
Terrible timing. Joab finds out Abner was just there, met with David, and left peacefully.
And Joab's reaction?
Immediate and furious. He storms in to see David. What have you done? Look, Abner came to you. Why did you let him go? Now he is gone.
He thinks David made a huge mistake.
Absolutely. Joab is deeply suspicious. He tells David, basically, you know Abner, he came to trick you, to spy on you, to figure out your plans. Joab sees Abner as a snake in the grass.
A threat, not a peacemaker, maybe a rival too.
Could be. A rival for influence, definitely. Joab does not trust him one bit.
And Joab doesn't wait for David's permission for his next move.
No. Crucially, the text says David did not know it. Joab acts alone. He leaves David, sends messengers after Abner, and calls him back from a place called the Well of Sirah.
Abner comes back, unsuspecting.
Seems so. He returns to Hebron. Joab meets him at the city gateway, pulls him aside as though to speak with him privately.
He kills him.
Stabs him in the stomach. Cold-blooded murder right there in the gate, under the pretense of a private chat.
And the motive given?
The source is explicit. To avenge the blood of his brother Asahel.
Yes. Abner killed Asahel, Joab's brother, back in the battle at Gibeon.
Right, so the text notes Joab and his other brother, Abishai, murdered Abner for that reason. It's personal revenge driving Joab, first and foremost.
This is disastrous for David politically.
Hugely. Abner was the key to unification. His murder by David's own commander could look like utter treachery by David himself. It could destroy the whole peace process.
So David has to react strongly, publicly.
Immediately. He makes this very loud, very public declaration, I and my kingdom are forever innocent before the Lord concerning the blood of Abner, son of Ner. He has to distance himself for God and for the people.
Especially the northern tribes Abner is bringing over.
Exactly. And he doesn't just declare innocence, he lays a heavy curse on Joab.
A really severe one.
Yeah, calls down horrible things on Joab and his family: disease, disability, violence, poverty. It's a powerful public condemnation. It shows David's anger, his grief, and points the finger squarely at Joab.
Then he orders public mourning.
Another really smart public move. Tells Joab and everyone, tear your clothes, put on sackcloth, mourn for Abner. He makes Joab the killer lead the mourning procession.
Wow.
And David himself participates fully, walks behind the bier, weeps loudly at the burial, gets the whole crowd weeping with him.
He even writes a song, a lament.
Yeah, a specific lament for Abner. It questions how he died. Should Abner have died as fools die? Notes he wasn't captured. Your hands were not bound, your feet were not fettered. He says Abner fell as one falls before wicked men.
Highlighting the injustice.
The treachery, reinforcing that this was a wicked act, not something David sanctioned. And the people weep again after hearing it.
And then there's the fasting. People urge him to eat.
But David makes another public oath, swears he won't eat anything until sunset, calling a curse on himself if he does. It's the final touch, showing the depth of his grief, proving he wasn't secretly happy. Abner was gone.
So all these public displays, did they work? How did people react?
The source says yes, definitely. All the people took note and were pleased, and everything the king did pleased them. His performance, if you want to call it that, was convincing.
And the main political goal was achieved.
Yes. On that day, all the people in all Israel knew that the king had no part in the murder of Abner, son of Ner. He salvaged the situation, secured the perception of his innocence.
The chapter ends on a different note, a private one between David and his men.
Right. He acknowledges Abner's importance. Do you not realize that a prince and a great man has fallen in Israel this day? But then he admits something striking about his own position.
What did he say?
And I today, though I am the anointed king, I am weak, and these sons of Zeruiah are too strong for me.
The sons of Zeruiah, Joab, and Abishai, he's saying his own commanders are too powerful for him to handle right now.
That's exactly what it sounds like. Even as the anointed king about to rule all Israel, he feels vulnerable. He can't immediately punish Joab for this murder that almost ruined everything. It shows the messy reality.
That consolidating power isn't easy.
Not at all. You need strong allies. But those allies can become problems themselves. They have their own agendas, their own loyalties, like Joab's fierce family loyalty and drive for revenge. David feels constrained.
So he leaves justice for Joab?
To God. He ends saying, "May the Lord repay the evildoer according to his evil deeds." He puts it off, essentially, because he feels he can't act himself just yet.
Wow. So this chapter covers so much ground. Saul's house collapsing, Abner's huge political shift.
The whole drama with Michelle's return.
Then Abner's sudden, brutal murder by Joab.
Driven by that personal revenge.
Yeah, and finally, David's very careful, very public response to manage the fallout.
Yeah, it's packed. It pushes David right to the edge of ruling all Israel, but bam, it immediately throws up this huge internal challenge. Joab, this powerful, potentially rogue element right inside his own camp.
So the kingdom is coming together, but it's already complicated. Built on divine promises, yes, but also political deals, old history, and, well, violence.
Absolutely. It really lays bare the complexities of leadership, especially during power transitions. Even for someone chosen like David, the path isn't clean. It involves compromises, managing dangerous people, dealing with the fallout of their actions.
It forces you to see that leadership, even divinely appointed leadership, is tangled up with difficult choices and messy human realities.
Definitely. It's a powerful look at the intersection of destiny, politics, personality, and violence.
So here's something to think about as we wrap up this deep dive. When you look at this chapter, with God's promise unfolding alongside political deals, personal betrayals, and raw revenge, what does it really tell us about the nature of power itself? How clean can the path to leadership ever be, and what are the hidden costs, even for the good guys?